Hello everyone. Got a question that I was asked the other day regarding the Bible. Have plain and precious truths been lost from it? Well, that's a good question, I said. Let's take a look at what that means. When we're talking about whether or not a historical document represents now what it represented then, we're talking about attestation. Do we have good reason to believe that it is now what it was then? Attestation is defined by the Merriam-Webster as something presented in support of the truth or accuracy of a claim. So, what would we offer in support of any historical document as to the claim that it, at least substantially, presents now what it once did? Well, there are two main indicators of historical attestation. The first one is the gap. That's the distance in time between a text was written and when the earliest extant manuscript was written. That is, it was written at some point, but sometimes we don't get manuscripts from it until much later. All of the other manuscripts are lost to time. And so if there's a really big gap between when something was actually written and when we actually get a record of it, well, that's definitely going to decrease our certainty regarding a text. So a large gap size is a bad thing. On the other hand, the other main indicator that you would use is the number of manuscripts. The more manuscripts associated with a text, the more able we are to determine what the original readings were. That is, variety increases the likelihood that the original reading is preserved. That is, while the manuscripts are probably not going to agree with each other, the odds are that at least one of them has the correct reading in there somewhere. So if we have lots of manuscripts, the odds increase that the original readings are preserved. So big gap is a bad thing, but a large number of manuscripts is a good thing. So let's put this in perspective. On the screen here, we have a list of texts with their corresponding number of manuscripts and the corresponding gap size in centuries. Now all of these manuscripts are claimed to be accurate to what they originally said by at least some group that's out there. The Old and New Testament are claimed to be accurate by Christians. The Quran, of course, by Muslims. Livy, Herodotus, Thucydides, Suetonius, and Tacitus are claimed to at least be generally accurate by historians. Homer is studied very frequently in literature classes, and of course the Book of Mormon is advocated by the LDS and other Mormon groups. Now when you look at a table like this, it's not all that easy to pick out exactly what you're looking at. So let's put this table in a graphic form. What we're going to do is we're going to find the standard score of each one of the items on here compared to the column that it's in, and we're going to subtract. That is, we're going to take the standard score for the number of manuscripts, and then we're going to subtract the standard score for this gap size, and we're going to get a standard of comparison for them. And when you do that, this is what you get. You'll notice on the right hand side that the Old Testament and the New Testament wind up having the best attestation possible, meaning that if you're going to reject those as representing now what was said then that means you have to reject everything that follows off to the left. That is, if you reject the Old and New Testaments as representing now what they said back then, that means that the Quran isn't accurate either. That means that Livy isn't accurate, that Herodotus isn't accurate, that Thucydides is not accurate, that Suetonius is not accurate, that Homer is not accurate, that Tacitus is not accurate, and that the Book of Mormon is not at all accurate. So is it reasonable to say regarding the Bible that plain and precious truths have been lost? Well, that's not a reasonable claim at all. If you reject the Bible, you're rejecting basically every work of ancient antiquity on the same measurement scale. Hope that answers the question. Thank you for your time, and I hope this has been instructive.